Hello and welcome to another Mechanic Matt. Today I'm working on my own van. I was noticing going up the powers it's just about gutless all of a sudden. This is a Citroen Dispatch and it's got a 1.6 litre engine and it's a 2011 year. So why has it got no power? I don't know yet, I haven't checked it. So I'm going to plug it in and I'm going to use the top-down Phoenix X-Link and see what it's like. I'm not sure how well you're going to see this with the glare. Let me put the sun visor down, it might help even a bit. So I go into scan, and we could go into EOBD or OBD2 and see what we've got here. Bleep, bleep. So I was trying to see which one it is, and it's found it. So we enter, it says there's no fault codes, but I know it's got no power. So I'm going to read the fault code, and this one is the same as it. Well, it is a Citroen, I was going to say the same as that. Turbocharger, supercharger, wastegate actuator A. Fan 1, mass or air volume, that's pending. They're all pending. Throttle actuator. So there's the faults. So you can click the freeze frame, but in this one they're not quite lit up, so we can't see. If I delete them and figure out, it's not the best way to do it. Live data is probably a better way. See what we get here. Air, engine, what else? Gonna get fuel rail, it didn't mention that. Manifold pressure, let's look at those. Let's graph them, and I'm gonna start this up. Rail pressure's gone up, that's in PSI, I should have changed that first. Grams per second is stuck at 0, so there's a problem. 0 grams per second, engine RPM has gone up, and the boost pressure, if I rev it, it's at 14.8. There's no boost. It's not going up there, it's just going down. Rail pressure's okay, so we've got no airflow and no boost. They just stayed the same. That one's on the bottom of the row. That one's there. When I blipped it a couple of times, it actually dropped in pressure. So I'll turn that off. Come out of there. So you've seen we've got a problem with a couple of things. So what I'm going to do is clear the fault code for now. And recheck. And that was in Citroen. The one that's come back is the mass airflow. Right, so this explains why there's no power going up a hill. We've got a P0104 intermittent mass airflow, but that's not gone, so it doesn't like what it sees. 0 grams per second when I revved it. So there's a problem, which maybe we fix that, we might fix the turbo, but I'm going to go to the mass airflow sensor and see what I get on the there's 4 wires on this. I want to see what each of them have. Power, ground, signal, there'll be the mass airflow signal, and there'll be the coolant temperature signal. But I also want to go into, where is it, Citroen. There. I want to go into this one and see what this says. Just want to show you some things that this tool can do more than the diag. I know there's a lot of glare on it. Let me maybe stick it down there, might be better. There we go, that's a little bit better. So auto search, and there it is. It calls it a Jumpy 3 or Dispatch 3, so that's what it is. And the one I want, I could do a full code read, but what I'm going to do is just read the engine, which is that one, for now. So it'll take a second to load that. Read the fault code. flow meter. So we got the same P0104, but it calls it a flow meter. Doesn't say airflow, but flow meter is what it's talking about. I got the turbo pressure electronic control open circuit. So yeah, look at that. The thing that's controlling the turbo wastegate on this, I don't think it's variable valve. The thing that's controlling the wastegate is a vacuum solenoid, so I'll have to look at that, and the EGR throttle, which isn't the EGR motor, it's the EGR throttle, which is like a throttle flap, which slightly closes sometimes when the EGR opens. That needs to be looked at as well. So one thing you can do on this is press code search, and if you flick through here, it actually will come up straight away with someone else that's had a similar thing. So I don't want to play someone else's video, but it just gives you an example of what this scan tool will do. It's on mute, but if you want to watch O'Reilly, he's got loads of stuff that's out there that's good. He'll show you how he checks the same fault code, but I'll come out of it because I'm just going to check it. There's nothing wrong with watching someone else. I do it anyway for entertainment when I finish with my day. But what I'm going to do is come out of this and look at the data for the mass airflow, which will be in the air intake. Where's the air? I'm going to press that. Measured airflow, that one. So I OK that, and I'm going to graph it and start the car. See this? Milligrams, 400. I rev it. I don't know what that is, because we saw on the other thing it was saying there was nothing. Let me come out of that. No, I do want that. I want that, but I want it. I can't change it there. I was going to try and change it to grams or something, but we have a reading on the Citroen side of the scan tool, but not on OBD. OBD tells you the truth. Citroen can give you a substituted value. If it's not got what it wants to see, it'll give you something that it's expecting to see. Oddly enough, there's no engine light on. So there we go. Mass airflow. I'm going to go to the sensor. So I've had a look at a wiring diagram. I'll go to a sensor. I've made a quick note of it, where the things are. Pin 1 is the temperature, pin 2 is the ground for the mass airflow and for the temperature sensor, so that's the ground. Pin 4 is the power, and pin 5 is the signal. So I'm going to go over to the mass airflow and see what I've got there. So pin 1 is the temperature. Unplugged, it's going to be around 5 volts and it'll get pulled down. Pin 2 is going to be a ground for both the signal and the, if I can get onto that, there. Pin 3 is nothing. Pin 4 is the power supply, which is nothing, there isn't one. And pin 5 is the signal, which is 11 volts, and don't know if it's on a duty cycle or anything. No, it's just a steady 11 volts, because there's no power going to it, so it's probably not going to be changing. So we've got to chase the power to this sensor. So putting a sensor on this isn't going to help it necessarily. We need to get the power onto that first. Got to figure out where that power comes from. So the pin, looking at this, the pin that's got no power has had someone join a wire in the past. This wire goes around there and around here to nothing, but it looks like it once went to here and it's got pulled out or fallen out if they've just taped it on. So I think that's the problem. So there's no power, and a way that somebody's fixed it in the past was giving it power. But what I'm going to do is run a wire tracer down there and see where the wire has a break. I'm going to use my power probe wire tracker. So there it is set up. I'm using an older version. There's newer versions out. This is saying it's open circuit because I got it plugged in using the adapter that comes in the kit, so I'm not damaging the pins. Well, I've got to see where this ends. And with this, that's going to get a bit awkward around the back of the engine, but the wiring loom does come up here somewhere. I think I just got a bleep. Sometimes you can get misreadings of these and everything bleeps, but on an open circuit, they are a bit better. I'm hoping it's there somewhere. It's just picking up a weak signal because it's behind all this plastics and stuff, but certainly nothing here. Nothing at the ECU where it should be, because that's the ECU. So there's definitely nothing here. Usually it's the conduit though, where you get a U-bend and the water settles. Somewhere around there. I'm getting it, and then what have we got here? We look at that wire, it was like a pinky colour. Wonder if it's actually that wire. You know, sometimes they... Oh, it's this one. Right there, the same coloured wire. Let's see where that's going. In there. Well, where the hell's that meant to go? Where's that meant to go? Looks like the same wire. I would say it is. Pinky coloured wire. I thought it went to the engine ECU, but I could be wrong. Oh, here's a wire down here. Right there. I wonder if these wires and those pins, see that? Do they come out of the engine ECU? So that goes into there. Now with the ignition on, I wonder if I get power on that. Let's go put the ignition on. That's just timed out. I had the ignition on anyway. See if the ignition's on a wire, you're not going to get this signal thing doing what I've just done because, yeah, there's nothing. Let's turn that buzzer off. There's nothing on that still. So we can go back to this and carry on with the signal tracker. There's nothing on it still. So I can put that back in there. See that blade? So it's the right tool for the job. I'm not going to damage any pins. We're still open circuit. Now turn that ignition off, because if you're pulsing let's turn that sound off. We don't need that. That's a handy thing. That's gone to a short when I turned it off. What happened there? When I put the ignition on, it went open. What the hell? So, the ignition on, I've got to go to that one. Some kind of frequency of the ignition on, but we know that's the right wire. It's going round to here, and then it's going up here. But that's not going into the engine ECU, that's going somewhere else. That is strange, because that wire is the same wire. Oh, I tell you what that is. That frequency, that's this. That's what it looks like. Okay, so you could check it with that if you wanted. That is what that looks like. Okay, well, those wipers and shit going off now. Let's turn that noise off. Hold on. I was wondering why somebody would join in wires. Now that's okay if going to cost a fortune, and you know what you're doing is going to be a good repair and overcome it. Maybe that's okay, but it's good to know what the original fault is. Where's the break in the original wire? Can you fix the original break? Or is this a bypass because the module's faulty and it's going to work and be a lot cheaper? I'm all for that, but I gotta say, when you leave wires stretched across an engine like that and they're going to wear through and break, it's not that good. I want to show you something else. What I've done is I've got hella wiring diagrams, HGS, so I printed that up to figure out what's going on. I'm looking at the mass airflow sensor. This one for the signal of the mass airflow sensor goes into the fuse box, into fuse 6. There's fuse 6, no power at fuse 6 with the ignition on. So I think what they've done is stretch this wire, soldered into here. There's one going into the EGR and the blue one. See how they're just lying all over the engine? That's how it was. I use jumper leads sometimes when I'm testing to see if something could work. They have found a wire that gets power with ignition on. No power without it, but the interesting thing is they put an inline fuse in. That's not blown, but it's pulled the wires off. So this beast here should have no power with the ignition off. So I suppose what they've done is right, but what I've done, I've got a second-hand fuse box from a scrapyard and put it on. Now I've got power with the ignition on. That's another way of doing it. I'm going to take the wires off. This one here, that's going right down to the back of the engine. I'm going to go into the car. That one, if they put that into here, that is the fuel pressure regulator in the pump. So that's one of these wires here. That should have got power from a different fuse, fuse 10, 30 amp. That should be power with the ignition on. We could check that we've now got that. Because they had two wires, one of them was going into the EGR. Wherever that is, I thought I labelled it. That's a brake light switch going up. Oh, there's the... Can't find the EGR. I thought I labelled it, but it doesn't matter. This brake light switch. That fuse that I was just telling you about, no power, that also powers the brake light switch. When you press the brakes, it lets the engine ECU know. Okay, so we're all good with the wiring. Whoever did it must have had some knowledge of finding out there's no power here. Let's just find a power and jump it. But I'm just doing it with a fuse box, so that I know it's right, and when you switch it off, it's switched off and all that stuff. Seems like they've kind of done it right, but if I don't need these extra wires in and I can use the car's wiring, I'm going to do that. They've also taken the other side of this wire, and it goes to M4 brown. I like this hella wiring, it shows you the pins, the blocks are black or brown, or if they're grey, quite like that. So we now know that, what was I looking at, this brown one, M4. One of these is brown when you take it off, it's brown on the inside. I think it's the centre one. And they've gone into that with this great big white wire here, but they've joined in brown wire. They must have thought there was a brake. So I don't know if there is a brake, so I'm even tempted to put that back to standard as well. They have soldered stuff. I've soldered it. So I'm going to take these wires off here, and there's one on the EGR that I'd like to get rid of that as well. The other side of this twin core, both powers going to the same thing that they'd put in. I want to get rid of all that. So now I'm going to try the fuse that I was showing you for the other side of this. One of them they've got going for the mass airflow, that had a fault. Now I need to go to the fuel pressure regulator. Now, the reason this had no power is because the mass airflow sensor wasn't working. That's the real reason, right? So no power to the mass airflow sensor, and the car had no power because of that. This one came through a different wire, soldered in the same place here, but I'm going to see if I've got power. That one goes to the fuel pressure regulator in the pump. That one right there. Okay, so that should get its power from the fuse box, fuse 10, 30 amp, and it gets the control side on the brown wire that I just shown you down there. The fuse 10 on this one is the bottom fuse, and see that lights up my... I've got a new one of these hotels because they don't like the rain. Maybe keep the old one for the rainy days. The screen's a bit knackered. Put the ignition on. Now do we have power? Yeah, we do. Now we've got power. I don't know if you saw that. Now we've got power on the fuse that goes to the fuel metering valve. So the fix for this really was a fuse box. Could have saved some money and just done the wires like they've done. Maybe if they routed them a bit neater, that would have worked. But stretching them over the engine, over a hot EGR pipe and stuff like that is probably not the best way to do it. Okay, got these wires here. They're the two. From the top, the green one's going to be the one that's ground or shows no power. With the engine off or the ignition off, and the ignition's on, that goes to power. And the white one's the one that they've cut and joined the brown wire, which we see here. And that's the wire, the blue wire that they'd put at the top of the fuse box. It's hard to get a good film of it under the car. So I'm going to go to this green wire, check. There's no power with the ignition off, and if the ignition's on, does it have power? And if it does, I'll connect the wire up, and the same with the white one. I'm going to load test that, see why they've changed it in the first place, if it's okay. Maybe they did that first and then decided there was no power, I don't know. But if the wire's okay, I'm going to use the standard wires. I've reconnected that green wire that goes from the fuse box at the top all the way down to the fuel pressure regulator on the pump. I've done that at the bottom of the car. The other end was okay, that wiring wasn't touched by whoever did what they did. Now I'm checking the white wire next to it, load testing the original one, because if that's okay, I'm going to start using it again. It's too awkward to show you under the car, because I've not got it lifted up that high, but I recently purchased this from eBay. It's like a little holder and a cup with a bulb in it, a couple of wires and crocodile clips. It's for load testing. I've got one with a lower wattage, but looking at these wires, they're quite big, so I thought I'll use a headlight bulb. First time that I'm using this. So I got one of the crocodile leads going on to the white wire at the end that we saw down at the bottom of the car. That's been cut, and they're now using this brown wire instead. Well, I'm nothing to do with the brown wire just now. I'm on the original white wire, and the other end of it I've just put a wire grounding it out with a crocodile clip, or an alligator clip if you prefer. But there, going to use the load test. I've not got any power there. When I give this power, that should light up. So that might be why they've had to do that. I'll just check I've got a good contact. Okay, I didn't have my wire under the car on a good ground. I was using it on the bell housing, but power on, power off. So I can load test it and it's fine. I think we're just gonna use all the standard wires. Put it back to standard, take all the other ones off. And then we don't have wires stretched across the engine. There's another wire here that's been cut. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I need to look into that. See where that's going. But I bought the van like this. It's my own van. I knew the wiring wasn't right. I thought sometime I'm going to have to go through it and look at what they've done and why they've done it. Now it got to the point that it lost power for me, so I had no choice but to do something about it. But yeah, I should have maybe took care of it a bit sooner, but I just got too busy and I had to get on with everyone else's car. I've done, what did I do on this? The injector seals, oil seals because they were leaking. Done those. I've done the hydraulic lifters and the chain because it had an oil leak. This is going off the subject a bit. An oil leak from up here. There's like little washers in there. Little like core plugs. I had to put those in to stop it leaking oil. Because the guy had no oil in it when I bought it. And it was rattly. Fixed the oil leak, then those seals at the bottom in this, and changed the chain and the lifters because they were worn out because of the low oil. Now it seems okay. I thought to myself, I do have to fix the wiring though. But for now that was going to have to do, but now I've had time to fix it. So I'm going to put the white wire back into play and get rid of their brown wire that they put in. And I think that's it. The thing I'm trying to say, and kind of got sidetracked totally. Yeah, I do that sometimes. What I'm trying to say was, that scan tool, that's how it started off, using the scan tool. It seems quite good, and it can show you somebody else's fault and what they've done to fix it, right? And I'm not knocking Jimmy O'Reilly, I think he's really worth watching. But what I am saying is, if you watch that video, he had a different fault. His wasn't a mass airflow sensor. His was a boost leak that he found. I think he used a smoke detector, you know, put smoke in it. Like, kind of like I would have gone that way, but in this case it was a circuit fault rather than a range and performance fault. So when it's a circuit fault, I go to the wiring diagrams, and that's when I started to see the bigger picture looking at this, that they go to the fuse box, and the fuse, so those wires that I knew somebody had messed with, it was time to now rip them out and actually just fix the actual fault that's there, and that was the fuse box. And the point of the video was, you never know what's going to happen. I get people watch my videos and they'll say, yeah, I've done what you did, it's not fixed it. That's not right. What you're saying isn't right. My van's still not right, or my car's not right. And it's like, yeah, that's because I haven't seen your car. Just because it's the same fault code doesn't mean that's what you do, and you cut everything out and say, what did they change, what did they do? Right, I'll go straight to that. And they'll even write to me and say, that didn't fix it. It's like, no shit, I haven't seen your van or your car. How do I know what's wrong with it? There's this one, you can't get a scan tool to tell you there's a broken wire like in this one. And people even say to me, what, you charge just to plug in and tell me what's wrong with it? It's like, there's more to it than that. We check the car as well. And that was going to be the point of it. Showing you how useful the scan tool is, the top down that I've just got. It is useful. And there's a lot of good stuff out there on the internet, but it doesn't mean that's the same fault as yours. It's just, this is what somebody else had and what they did to fix it. It doesn't mean that's definitely your fault. And that was kind of the way this video was going. I didn't know it was going to be, you know, a fuse box when I saw a mass airflow sensor fault. Right, so that's just the point of it. You never know what it's going to be. And I find the diags fun because of that. You never know what you're going to get. But when you do find the fault, you feel great about it. Anyway, I'm going to piece this together and check it all works. Well, I got a smiley face. I was road testing it and it's going really well. I was panicking for a little bit. A little bit of panic. When I sit here revving it up and I'm not going anywhere, it's like it's holding back, it's not giving it full revs. But once you start driving it on the road, it would indicate a boost problem looking at this, but there's no fault codes. You've got the expected and actual boost, and that was the one thing that wasn't matching up after I did it on the scan tool. But the scan tool's working fine anyway. Happy with this. No engine light. Flashy lights, it just looks like that. Their handbrake and the seatbelt light. So I'm back. I've stopped. So, where was I? Scan. Let's go into this and look at the history. So it calls recently instead of history. This one's the Citroen. Let's see what we got here. Citroen. Bleep, bleep. see what's going on. Well, this is a good scan tool. It does have a cable instead of being Bluetooth, but I did buy an extension. It's down there somewhere in that pile of stuff ready for my week ahead, doing a wet timing belt, both belts on a Ford Focus. Let's see here. So you can do a search like this, or if you want to save time, you could just press the one you want. So press engine there, EMC, and that comes up. Let's see what we've got going on. But like I say, it drives fine on the road. So even sat here, which might be worth me remembering in the future, read the fault code, no fault code. That's what we want to see. Once again, happy with it. The scan tool's good. I'll keep using it so you can see what it can and can't do. And I know the video was a bit all over the place because sometimes I forget that I'm filming part way through it. I don't think, oh, I'm going to make a video, or I forget and I get involved in stuff, and it's like, oh, I didn't film it quite as detailed as I wanted to. So think of it more as a little bit of what I'm up to than how to do something. In this case, sometimes I might go into more detail, but in this case it's just what am I up to. Might be a better way to think about this one. And if you have stuck with me to the end after all that sort of wishy-washy start to it, thanks, it's appreciated. Bye for now, I'll see you in the next one.